everyone, it's Stephanie and welcome back to my channel. So today I want to talk to you about one of my favorite reads of this year. It's so freaking good, and that's Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter. This book was actually self-published and it did so well that a major publishing house, Orbit, picked it up and it just exploded. And it is for a very good reason. It is that good. This follows the story of Tao, and he lives in a world with a very strict caste type system. And Tao happens to be close to the very bottom rung on that caste system. The world in this book is just very bleak and unforgiving and oppressive to those in the lower castes or classes. Tao's future isn't very bright. He just is planning on, setting his path and then settling down with the woman he loves and just living his life the way his parents live their lives, and it's just a cycle. That is upended when, due to a set of circumstances, Tao ends up wanting revenge on these very, very high-class nobles. In this world, there is this really intense, long war going on that's been going on for centuries. In this world, I think it's 1 in every 1,000 women have the ability to call on dragons, and 1 in every 100 men are able to sort of magically pair up with these women to become the superior warrior. This book just pushes you right into this world, and you kind of figure out how the world works and what's going on as you're reading. I will say the prologue is a little confusing, but now that I've finished the book, it makes sense. So I think it would be an advantage if you did read the prologue, but then when you're done with the book, go back and reread it, and then it'll make a lot more sense. However, once you get to chapter 1, you just get drawn into the world. It did take me a couple chapters to really get in my groove. While this world is contained and it is an epic fantasy, but we don't follow this huge cast of characters, it's very easy to follow, honestly. And we follow the main character, Tao, for most of the book, but we really get in his head and learn what motivates him. This book, Evan Winter actually wrote for his son, and he wanted to write something that his son would want to read, which really endeared me to wanting to read this book. Evan Winters is a Black author, and he was born to South American parents, born in England, and then I think spent a good majority of his childhood in Africa. And you can really tell that African mythology and culture was used in this book, and I love that he used what he knew and his roots and heritage to create this really cool, unique world. I just think the way he writes, once you get into his writing style, is actually very accessible. And I feel like the world, even though, like I said, it's contained, it's not this huge, massive world like a lot of other major fantasy series have. It was so well done. I was able to understand why things worked the way they do and how these men and these women that have these extra abilities, how that works. And we figure out how it works with Tao, and I loved following him. He is a very flawed character, and I have to keep reminding myself when I was reading this that he's like late teens, so he's still developing that impulse control. And even though I didn't like some of his actions, I understood his motivation behind them. I don't want to say why he wants revenge, because that's kind of a spoiler, but once that happens and you see it, I feel like you really connect with Tao and develop this empathy with him, and you just root for him. Even when he makes these horrible decisions that you know sometimes are just stupid, or he doesn't listen, you just root for him and you want him to win and get what he wants. I think that's such a credit to the way Evan Winter writes, because personally I get really frustrated sometimes when characters make dumb decisions, but the way he wrote Tao was just captivating. I loved that even though he wanted revenge, I loved that he was just so dedicated to this end that he just threw himself into it and worked so hard. And I loved his work ethic and how he was just laser focused. But even though this book is revenge and he's set on this revenge plot, Tao has such good character growth. I think that's a result of what happens to him, and I feel like that was just so realistic, because in real life things happen to us, good or bad, and that's how we learn. And sometimes fantasy, especially when you have the chosen one trope, sometimes things are too easy, you know? And I don't think anything was really easy for Tao in this book, especially when he's learning more about this magic. He's still learning and growing as a person, and it was just so well done. I will say most of this book was set during training or in this military type camp where they have a lot of skirmishes, and normally that doesn't really appeal to me, but the way that Evan Winter wrote this just had me on the edge of my seat. I wanted to know, I was invested in what happened to these characters. The ending was so well done and satisfying, and I cannot wait for the second book, Fires of Vengeance, and it comes out in November. I cannot wait, and I just want everyone to read this because it's one of the best fantasies that I have read in quite some time. When I finished it, I'm like, I have to talk to somebody about this because I can't process all my feelings by myself. So in a nutshell, superbly written, wonderfully paced, wonderful world building and magic system, and such a unique story. And I loved it. Can't recommend it enough. 5 out of 5 stars. One of my favorite reads of this year. And I hope you go read it. I want you to go read it. And if you've read it, let me know what you thought. I want to talk to people about it. As always, if you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and click the subscribe button down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.